cultural texts coming from, that are being generated by what I'm calling, just for now, so don't quote me, non-dominant groups. So, for example, just for a very specific example, in the 1950s, so late 40s, 50s, after the Second World War, I'm looking at black print popular culture as one source to try to get at how, and all I'm looking at, I started very simply, how are they talking about sexuality? And there's a number of canonical ways they're talking about sexuality, which is in relation to sort of white perceptions, that's their term. They're seeing, white perceptions of African American sexuality and or black sexualities, and the way that and the sort of stereotyping and the denigration of black sexualities, and they're responding to it. So that's part of what they're doing on one level. So you see a kind of response to a canon, if you will. On another level, what you see as well happening in this popular cultural setting that's being very widely read. I'm looking at magazines like Ebony and Jet, and also Tan Confessions that during the, had millions of subscribers nationwide. Also, the Chicago Defender, which was the most widely distributed and disseminated newspaper in the black newspaper in the post-World War II period in the world. And but what you see are these negotiations going on by authors, by editors, and you always have to be careful with like letters to the editor, because they're definitely sort of picked for a reason. But I'm looking at those as well, and then framed with sort of advertisements and how they're trying to speak to and sort of be suggestive in relation to the articles. So, but to get to the point, it's for example, there's in the black print popular press, there's never in these articles, despite the fact that they're speaking to the canon, they're speaking back against white perceptions, say, of African American female sexuality as hypersexual, as deviant. They're speaking to those, and they're basically, for the most part, saying, that's not true, but look at white women, how nasty they are. There's that going on, and that to me is like the in some ways the most visible level. But then underneath you see, in other articles, you see all kinds of ways in which the question of what sexual norms should be for black communities, and a debate about that going on. And there's always a presumption that black women are sexual, and that they have sexual desire, and that is something they have a right to, that it's autonomous, and that is very different from what you see in terms of white print popular culture at the same time, or white mainstream. I'm thinking of like Life and Look and that sort of thing. So I guess my point is, it's speaking against a canon, but it's also a way into looking at how various aspects of the community are trying to work out what they see as normative. And within that conversation, debate, discussion, exchanges, you see moments where same-sex sexualities aren't denigrated, the presumption, the canonical presumption historically, in terms of black newspapers or black print popular press, is that it's very conservative, that it's a different kind of canon, but there's no space in these venues for speaking about sexuality in any other way, that is at all positive, I guess, for lack of a better word, in terms of same-sex sexualities. I'm finding it all over the place, that there are all kinds of ways that sexuality is being articulated and debated and discussed, as a way into speaking of rights as citizens, of rights and as a way into creating a distinct set of cultural norms that are quite different from what is understood as presented as the canon.